right, we're just getting rolling here. How we looking? How we looking?
Just checking everybody now. We're seeing if everybody's loading in. We got a couple viewers trickling in. Had a little bit of Facebook issue, but
okay.
All marked and said everything's cool.
Everything's cool. Okay, so we're gonna just do a little bit of what's up, Ronald? Hi, Peter. Love the idea. Hope you do it monthly. Thank you. Okay, this is my first one, so let me get through a little bit more. Make sure you still want me to do it monthly, but I appreciate it. So if you can hear okay, I'm going to be able to take the questions potentially from anywhere, but over here on Instagram, they're going by so quick, I might miss something. But if you want to make sure you get your question in, go to Facebook.com, OpenStudio Facebook page. So that's Facebook.com/Hey OpenStudio.
Back out of that, and there's a new feed.
Okay, I'm backing out. I'm backing that thing up like they used to say in New Orleans. So AMA, didn't they used to have an award show called the AMAs?
American Music Awards.
Whoa, American Music Awards. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, here we are. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, thanks, Ronald. I appreciate that. Marissa, hi there. This is the third time I've joined the live session. The video was interrupted several times. Sorry about that. Hopefully we're at the right one now. I think I'm at the same one as you. So if you would, just let me know if you can kind of hear okay. But especially if you want to ask a question, you can go ahead and do that. That's what we're here for. Ask me anything. And then we're going to try to figure out if there's a way we can turn all the cameras around and turn the computers around onto you. And I'm going to ask you anything. Welcome. We got some people coming in now. Good, because I was hoping somebody was going to come and ask me anything. Welcome to our first ever AMA, my first ever AMA. And, oh, what's up, Kevin? Kevin. Okay, the first question that I'm seeing, and I'll try to back up so I don't miss anything. Do you plan to come to France soon? I'm planning to come to France next week, actually. Doing a couple gigs there with Diane Reeves. I want to say maybe Wednesday, Friday, Saturday or something of this week coming up. If you go to petermartinmusic.com/tour, you can see all the links there, because I can't remember where we're coming within France, but I'm really looking forward to it. I've been coming to France for 1991 was the first time I came with Betty Carter, and it's one of my favorite places to come to play music, because the country is beautiful, the people are beautiful, and it's such a warm audience for playing jazz and a lot of the kinds of things that I do. So always a pleasure, and a lot of friends there, a pleasure and an honor to return there. So thank you for that topical questions. If you could let us know, just say hey. If you have a question, that's even better, but you don't have to. You can just say hey, maybe even say where you're from. That's always fun to see that. Steven, what's up, Steven? Hi, Peter, volume is good. Good. Looks like it's working. What's up, David? North Carolina in the house. What's up, John? Sounds great. Wow, okay. Looks great, sounds great. Thank you very much. I shaved only over here this morning. Okay. Hey, better here than on your phone. Yeah, so we got folks at Instagram. You're welcome to stay there, but if you want to hop over to the main feed at Facebook, you are welcome to do that. Hola, gracias, Federico. Muy bueno. Okay, Taylor asks, hello, Taylor. Could you give, okay, so this will be our second official question, right? Could you give some tips on how to practice two-handed comping? Wow, that's such a great question, and we just recorded a podcast. You'll hear an episode on this morning, actually, that's going to be out next week, or we're kind of just talking about comping. So, tips for practicing comping. Two-handed versus one-handed, a lot of times that comes down to, are we accompanying somebody else? Like when we think about, a lot of the same kind of concepts that we develop with our left-handed, one-handed comping, underneath our right hand, we can take and apply to two-handed comping. But it's such a different thing because when you're playing with someone, it's like, how do you practice accompanying with them? And so we had a very lively, interesting discussion on that this morning. But the idea is like, how do you prepare to be able to successfully comp once you get in that situation? Because you can really only practice it, I think, when you're doing it. So, you can grab an instrumentalist, horn player, whatever, bass player too. I mean, remember, two-handed comping is used in a lot of different situations. So one important element that a lot of people forget is that as you develop good voicings and good progressions, learn them in all keys. Sometimes we get something that feels really good, and that goes all the way from, just like, say, one voicing. We want to know what they feel like and be able to get around all the different keys. But even more importantly, I think, is the concept of knowing them, learning them in all keys so that when we get into that situation, we're ready to go, because so much interaction is going on as far as comping. So that would be the first thing, is like, don't think so much about how you're going to learn new voicings until you've got them in progressions and into all the different keys. I mean, you can be learning new ones too, but a big part of your practice is kind of just prescribed by taking them through all 12 keys. So until you can do most of your kind of basic voicings there, I think that's, kind of the foundation for it. So I hope that helps. All right, we got some new folks on. What's going on, everybody? What's up, Max? Hello, Peter. This is great. Great to have you here, Max. One of our amazing musicians and transcribers in the Open Studio family. James, what's going on, James? Do you plan on releasing another album soon? That's a good question. I don't plan on doing it real soon, but it's something that is definitely going to happen. And, Oh, that's right. Yeah, it is. Well, it's going to be relatively soon. That's right. I was thinking of, it's like we always go through the life cycle of, I almost take that question to be like, when are you going to be working on new music for a new album? And so you've got for me, it's like the process of thinking about what you want the scope of the project to be kind of musically, and then like, can you start to put it together into what's going to eventually be an album, and then you like put the songs together or write the ones that are needed or arrange or whatever you're doing, finish it off, and then it gets to the point where it becomes a real thing. And then you record it, and then it's like, when is it going to come out? So it's like all these different stages. So I actually gonna have a record coming out pretty soon that we've already gone through everything except for the actual release of it. Well, we're still kind of mixing some things, but it's a live recording I did with Homero Lubumbo, the wonderful Brazilian jazz guitarist, from Rio de Janeiro, and we did a live recording in Japan last year. And so that's all done in terms of the performance. We're just kind of doing some last minute choices about what tunes that are going to make the cut, that kind of thing, and doing some mixing. So that should be out, certainly this year, hopefully on the earlier side. And then the next project's I've got a bunch of the music written for it. It's just a matter of once it's going to get recorded and all that. But thank you for your interest, James. What's up, everybody? I hope you guys are enjoying my first ever AMA. So I'm just looking for the next question. Will you come to Norway from Krister? Yes, of course I'll come to Norway. I've been to Norway and I really want to come back to Norway always. I don't know if there's anything on the plan this year. I'm going to be in Europe the next couple of weeks, but I didn't see any Norway. You know, I actually did a tour a few years ago, probably 12 years ago in Norway with Diane Reeves, and we did a 2-week tour in Norway, and everybody was amazed by that because they were like, I didn't know, and we were playing like every night. We went to we went up to Trondheim and Tromsø, flew up there, and Oslo, and some out in the suburbs, and all around the coast, all those great cities, Bergen, I think, and it was really fun. We were on a bus, you know, just driving all around the country, and you know, it's so beautiful there. The people are great, and it's very different than certainly what we have here, and really, you know, even the rest of Scandinavia. Fun to be there just a little bit to start to learn how Scandinavia is so different. You know, Denmark and Sweden and Norway. What's been amazing for me, and so grateful for this music to take me all these places, is that when you return a couple times, you start to really meet people and get to know them and sort of learn something about the culture and the people. It's not just sort of, you know, the beautiful fjords, of course, and the bridge and all this amazing scenic beauty, but get to know the people and the vibe and how unique it is there. So I'd love to come back to Norway. Please, let somebody know that I'm ready to come. Let's see here. David, what's going on, David? Any tips on soloing outside the changes? Yeah. So I think probably my number one tip on soloing outside the changes is, you know, no matter how you leave the changes and play outside or take it out, whatever you want to call it, whenever you're leaving the correct harmony, is don't let go of your melodic mind at the same time. You can lose your harmonic mind by playing outside of the correct chord, but still play melodically. I hear a lot of players that as soon as they go out, take it out, or play outside the changes, they stop playing interesting melodies and they think they have to play more random than they really need to. I almost think it's more important to really focus on you know, melody and rhythm. Like we talk about melody, rhythm, and harmony being the three sort of, I mean, it's painting with broad strokes, but being the three main areas of music that we have at our disposal when we're composing and certainly when we're improvising and stuff. So when we kind of let go of harmony, the rhythmic and melodic stuff, if anything, becomes more important, you know, because we want to give the listener something to hold on to. And so we're taking it out. That's giving it drama in terms of harmony. So if I'm like D minor, and I leave that general, and I'm doing D minor partly because you can just see, you know, it's all white keys in terms of Dorian. So if I go out, I'm still trying to play melodically. I'm not just playing random stuff, you know, so. And then even if we do something slower, like say you're doing, you know, like G major. So I can totally leave the harmony. As long as I'm shaping a melody and stuff, it can sound interesting and dramatic as I leave the regular harmony and play out, but I'm, if anything, paying a little more attention to melody. So that would be sort of my number one tip. You can also do things in terms of, you know, melodic development as you go in and out that come out of that, and then also, you know, really paying attention to the rhythm and how that affects how you structure your melodies. But it's just like, you know, if you're playing melodically when you're playing inside the harmony, when you leave, keep playing melodically. You're just in another harmonic zone. In fact, that's one of the things, sometimes people think you're just like playing atonally, and you can do that. That's one way to do it. But sometimes I'll think about it more as another harmonic area that I'm going to. So you're taking it out of the regular harmony. So D minor again. I might go to F sharp minor. So I got. So that kind of focuses me on an area that I can create melody. So if I'm. And some people might say, well, that's just going up to D major. Yeah, it's got some of the same notes, but melodically I'm constructing it off of that. And that might be like a pentatonic thing. Let me go somewhere else, like A flat, pentatonic minor. Okay, so that's just, kind of some ideas, but I think taking it out, harmonically can be really fun. I mean, everybody likes to do it, but double down on that melody during that time. That would be my humble recommendation. All right, welcome to new folks. Thank you for being here with me at my first ever AMA. Excited. Kevin asked another question about how to use the sustain pedal in the jazz context as a beginner pianist. Okay, the answer to that is sparingly. My answer for that is sparingly. The default on that is to use it sparingly. And, there's going to be occasional exceptions to that. The hardest thing about, we might even have a little pedal. We got a pedal cam? Pedal cam in the house. Oh, yeah. So the idea with this, they might be able to see my Adidas. My Adidas. Okay, so basically, a way as a beginner, when you get more advanced, I think, with pedal technique or just general piano technique, I really think it can be kind of, when you're improvising, playing jazz, you don't really have to think about the pedal. You might think about it when you're practicing, and that's on using it less, because I've never heard any pianist where I said, man, I wish they used more pedal. It's always, I wish they'd use less. I wish they'd use less. So the easiest way I've found to practice, and so if you can see, can they see this now, you think? Yeah. Okay, so is to put your foot under the pedal, thus making it impossible for you to press the pedal down, right? It's like a little pedal chastity belt, if you will. It cannot be used. So the idea is that, yeah, of course, you can still come up and press it, but you have to think about it more. Now, what this does is give you some big challenges. Okay, if I've got the pedal, I've got to be very careful, and this is part of the development process of not going, like, I hate the way that, okay, hate's a strong word, I'm sorry, but I dislike the way that sounds when you're pedaling through a beautiful melody. Like, let's do something longer, like, so if I go, and I'm just phrasing it without, put my foot under the pedal, as opposed to, it's just too much. Even if I'm just playing the melody. Because, like, if you have a line, think about somebody singing a line, do 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 dee da, and phrasing it. You can't keep singing the note before. You have to move to the next note because you're only singing one note at a time. The piano can be like, as soon as you hold the pedal through a melodic passage, you lose the autonomy of that line. So we want to use the pedal because there's some great things for connecting, right? But we got to use it sparingly. So you want to be very purposeful as a beginner in using the pedal. You want to, less is more. So you want to start with that foot under the pedal and then just bring it out when you need to, being very thoughtful so that as you develop your pedal technique, it's an additive thing as opposed to something that you're going to have to constantly take away. Okay? I hope that helps. Very important, though, for pianists, pedal technique. And in jazz, it's kind of overlooked. I would say practicing classical music can help you in this regard because you know what you're going to play. And I'm always playing this etude because it's such a good Chopin etude. For pedal technique, I'm kind of improvising it because I don't remember. So, going through these simple classical pieces and working on your pedal technique to really not get in the way of the melody and stuff will carry over into your jazz playing. Okay. Cool. How's everybody doing? What? Wait. We got some jazz royalty in the house. We probably have a lot, but a name just popped up. Warren Wolf. What's up, Warren? OS in the house. Warren Wolf, for those of you that are just coming out of the rock you've been hiding under for the last few years, is an amazing musician. We're so proud to have him here at Open Studios as our vibraphone and other instrumentist as well, expert. He has a new course out. I don't even know, does Warren know he's got a new course out? Adam? Oh, are you here, man? Does Warren know he's got his new course? Warren's here.
I don't know if he does.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got a new course out. No, I'm sure he knows because he recorded it here for us. Jazz, what's it called? Jazz Vibe, what's the name of it?
Jazz vibraphone voicing.
Jazz Vibraphone Voicings, that's right. So he's going through some really cool stuff. Check that out. But thank you for being here, Warren. Amazing musician and friend. What's up, Gil or Jill? Watching from San Antonio, thanks for sharing. Absolutely, my pleasure. Having fun. Ian, what's going on? One of my sons' name is Ian. I love that name. Hi, Peter. How to develop strong sense of time. When I improvise, I get excited and do not carefully listen to the rhythm section. Could you give me some advice? Thank you. Yes. Number one, listen. So you've kind of solved part of the problem right now. You've sort of diagnosed it. When I get excited, I don't carefully listen to the rhythm section, but you know more than you might be giving yourself credit for to think about listening to the rhythm section. That's really your entry point, if it's a good rhythm section, to developing your time, I think. I mean, there's certainly things we can do practicing with the metronome, and I encourage that. Get the metronome on all four, maybe just on four, like, you know, training yourself to be able to hear when your time is changing. But there's nothing like playing with the great rhythm section. So what happens is when we get excited, absolutely what you're saying, we stop listening because we're getting more into our own thing. So what I'd encourage you to do when you get a chance to play with those good rhythm sections is restrict yourself on the amount you're going to play, because then you won't get as excited. So you're still going to play good, but you're going to be concentrating on what the rhythm section's playing and fitting your thing in a very simple way. So you might not be playing as exciting and get as much applause at first, but it's going to be a more interesting and kind of edifying experience, I think, because you'll get the benefit of knowing that everything you're playing is fitting in with the rhythm section. It's almost like not going beyond what you can do and still be in time. So you're going to have to go kind of back to basics and then slowly build up from there. And then also, you know, kind of thinking about when you get excited, like if you've identified that as the time that you start to push, and that's normally what we talk about, is practicing doing that on your own. So you get the metronome going, or maybe like a play along or something, and then you play in that same way, and you're going to know when you get to that point of exciting, because what's going to happen is it's going to seem like the metronome is slowing down. But I can tell you that most of these metronomes are pretty precise, so that's going to be you actually speeding up, okay? But use that as a sort of trigger, you know, for you to stop then and then kind of get your time back right. And that's really what it's about, is just identifying. I think everybody has good time. And it's not about playing metronomically. I don't think there's actually anything wrong with when the music gets a little more exciting, pushing the tempo a little bit. That's natural. You know what I mean? We're not robots. But we never want it to get in the way of the groove. So it shouldn't be. I mean, there's some famous recordings with some rushing on it, with Philly Joe Jones on it. Like, I mean, it speeds up. But you would never know it unless you kind of analyzed it and checked it from beginning to end. And that stuff sounds good. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. As long as you're in the groove and swinging, do a little work on it, like I said, but it's not a big problem, I don't think. Cool. Hey, we've got Saad from Saudi Arabia. Awesome. How you doing? I hope I'm saying your name and everybody else's name I said correctly. I'm sure I'm screwing Saad. I'm sure I'm messing up some names, so my apologies on that. But good to have you here. Andrew, what's going on? Hey, Peter, thanks for this AMA. I have a question about aha moments. This might be a tough one on the fly, so maybe you can think about it and answer later if nothing pops straight to mind. What was a big aha moment for you as a jazz pianist? As an example, one for me was identifying triad shapes in popular melodies and how that can be incorporated into improvisation. Cool. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, actually a bunch pop into my mind. The first one that I thought of is when I learned the difference between a major seven and a dominant seventh. And I'd be very embarrassed to tell you exactly how long I went thinking they were both the same thing. Well, actually, I knew they sounded different. I just didn't know, like, the notation. I thought if it said C7, it was the same as C major 7. They just forgot to put the major there. And so I kind of had a little bit of blues understanding. That was like one of the only things I could play. And so I always assumed that everything was dominant. I'm like, that's what jazz is, you know. And my ear wasn't attuned to the difference. But I remember when I kind of went to that, C major 7. And I was like, wow, okay, that's a different kind of sound. But that's the whole problem with the root position thing, is it doesn't really still have a great, like once you learn, bigger voices and different ways of playing them, it starts to make sense. But that was like huge aha moment for me, for sure. It's funny now because they sound so different, yet I didn't know that. Thank you for that. Stephen, great reply, reminder to the question. Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome on the two-handed comping. That was fun. Carlo, what's going on, Carlo? Oh, man, everything goes... Okay, there you go. If you would have to record drums, piano, and bass, with what would you start? I wonder what that means. You mean like if you would have to record drums, piano? I mean, I'd start with piano because I'm a pianist, so I don't know if you mean like I would be recording all of them myself, maybe? That would probably be like, I don't know, maybe bass in a way, because the bass is so foundational, like when you're building up. It kind of depends on the music, but, I always think about in a trio, and so you're talking about piano, bass, and drums, or a rhythm section, like the roles, and what happens is like no matter what kind of music it is, with those three instruments, the bass is the one instrument that, when you think about how you're playing all together, if everybody drops out, it's still kind of all there with the bass, I mean, the piano, yeah, we could play solo piano, but that's kind of a different thing, because if the bass and drums drop out, we're either doing something different or trying to duplicate what they're doing. Whereas if the bass, like with the piano and drums, drop out, they can just keep walking, playing the groove, whatever it is that they're doing, and it's pretty cool, So in a way, I think about the trio as building up from the bass, then to maybe the piano, to maybe the drums, but I don't know. They're kind of all good. Krister, that's probably a bad name. Here's Peter's tour. Oh, that was the tour schedule thing. Yeah, for coming to France. Excited about that. Artem, what's going on? Greetings from Ukraine. Any tips on improving hand independence? And what is your favorite book? So, for hand independence, well, the Phillips exercises, I always talk about those for finger independence, but there's a fair amount of hand independence stuff in there too. It's not officially there, but I recommend that. The McFerrin scale stuff, I think to a certain degree that's for hand independence. Trying to think else. Is there anything else we use, Adam, for actual hand independence? Hand independence, like exercises?
You said Phillips?
Phillips, yeah, but that's so much like finger stuff.
Yeah. Practicing, a two-field bass line and a melody.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So that's like, yeah, that's not a book, but that's just like a concept. That's so good. And that's the idea of like a medium swing two-feel, but really starting with half notes. And you can do this at any level. I mean, maybe not the very, very beginner level, but I mean, in terms of improvising, it can be very simple to build up to a lot. But the only kind of rule for this exercise is that you only play half notes in the left hand. So like if we played All the Things You Are, 3, you're just playing half notes. And I mean, you try to put together a nice bass line, but it could just be the roots. And then you're laying your improvisation or whatever. Now, a lot of you are going to be like, that's so easy. I've already got that. But try it first if you haven't, because when I'm talking about half notes, I mean, you really stay with half notes, because the idea of hand independence is right there in the title. Your hands are doing two different things. They're independent from each other. They're not dependent on each other. So a lot of times when I tell students to do this, that sounds like it's half notes, but it's not. You've got some anticipation going in the left hand, which in reality is fine if you do that when you're playing. But for practice, you want to not have the left hand linked with the right hand. You want it to be independent. So that one exercise, especially in the jazz context, can help a lot. And then, in terms of exercise, you could really even think about the Bach inventions. I mean, what a beautiful way to train your hands to do two different things. And so that's good for like starting to get different lines in different hands, the possibility of getting that into your jazz playing. starting kind of from there. You look like you might have a question from somebody, Adam. Oh, you don't? Oh, no.
There's tons.
Oh, there's tons. Okay, I'm looking. Sorry. How's everybody feeling? Man, great to have these questions from all these incredible places. Ukraine. I was there a couple of years ago, and man, I cannot remember. This is embarrassing. I'm forgetting the city. It was way in the Lviv, L-V-I-V. I had such a wonderful couple of days there. Beautiful festival. Met some really great folks. Amazing food. One of the prettiest, beautiful, like, ancient city there. Man, it was so great. It was my first time ever in Ukraine. It was so different than what I expected. So great to hear from somebody from there. Eva says, greetings from Germany. 7 stars as always. Thank you. I have a question. How do I know when I'm ready to go on stage for a small jam session in front of a small audience in my favorite jazz club? Yeah, you're ready now, I think. I mean, I don't know that there's a time. I think, if you're waiting for to feel like you're confident enough to, I wouldn't say you need to wait. I think we all need to have a certain self-awareness about our playing, but that's about listening, And on the podcast, we're always joking about number 1, listen. But it just answers so many different questions. So yeah, listen to yourself, but you kind of want to just see, for me, traveling a lot of places, I think about it like with language. I try to learn a little bit of the languages. And like French, I studied a lot. I'm not very good at it, but I try to have enough self-awareness. Like, can I say something to somebody in their language, in French, that there's a possibility I'm going to be able to understand what they're saying back? And like, am I good enough to at least, they're going to immediately know I'm not a native French speaker. That's okay. But like, how do I get to the point where I can try this? And so it's really the same with playing. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to kind of know the tune and be able to get through it. And I think sound acceptable, and then relax, have some confidence, and have some fun. So I wouldn't wait until you feel totally confident, because then it'll never happen. And when you go to and play your first jam session at a small jam session in front of a small jazz audience, it sounds like it's going to be your first time. When you do that, it's going to be such a fun experience. It might be terrifying. It might be a disaster, but you're going to learn so much that I'd rather you err on the side of doing it a little bit early as opposed to a little bit later, because you're playing. I mean, I think about my playing development. Some of the big aha moments were in some terrifying situations for jam sessions where I didn't know what I was doing, but it taught me some really good lessons. So I would say go for it. Let's see. Ralph has a question. Hi from Germany. 2 Germany's in the house. I love it. Question: what do you focus on when you are practicing scales intensively to prevent your mind from switching to autopilot? Actually, when I practice scales now, and I've been doing a fair amount of this lately, I kind of go through phases. I kind of go a little bit onto autopilot. But what I try to do, I mean, part of that is okay. That means like that's how you want to have your scale on the most basic thing you're trying to get out of it, like an intuitive, unconscious understanding of the fingerings and being able to execute it. Now, if you can do that, there's probably another way to practice the scale that you can't do that. So if you're doing chromatic scales and you're like, I know these so good I can do them in my sleep, what am I going to have for dinner? And they're not helping. Think about all the elements you can bring in. Contrary motion. If you're still on autopilot with that, change up the interval. Start on a minor third. Maybe a tritone. What is it? In tenths. Broken thirds. Broken thirds and tenths. Broken thirds, contrary motion, starting on a minor third. You'll be able to find something that'll keep you from going on autopilot, even if you really know that scale. So with all the different scales we need to know, all the different fingerings, I think, what we call around here creative scale practice is the way to go. And I wouldn't be doing a lot of practice until you've mastered every scale every different way, which we never really do that. You can always cycle back to another way. I wouldn't stick with one way of practicing too long that you're going on autopilot. Now, having said that, sometimes I like to practice very basic things, like a major scale. Slowly, where I'm really listening for evenness. Like I'm intensely listening to one aspect. I'm not worried about the fingerings. Of course, I know that it's slow. There's no real challenge there. But I'm really trying to focus on specific things with getting a sound and evenness with all the different fingers on the notes. And so that focusing on one thing should keep you from kind of going on autopilot. Elias, what's going on, my friend? What's up, Peter? Are there players or styles you loved when you were younger that you now don't like? What about styles you weren't into as younger man that are now favorites? Yes, bell-bottom jeans I used to love back in the late 70s. Was a big, I guess you mean the piano styles probably. Okay, this is interesting. Players or styles that I loved when you were younger that you know what? Probably, but none that come to mind. I think about even a lot of the stuff I liked outside of when I super like got into jazz. I still like a lot of that stuff, but in jazz, I don't know. Probably the only area I can think of is kind of big band, like stage band. I don't even know if that's a term that's still used, but I mean nothing. I mean, I love Count Basie band. I love Duke Ellington and Stan Kenton. I loved all those big bands, but like I played it a lot when I was in high school and even like middle school, and I love that sound a lot. But now it's not something that I really necessarily gravitate that much to. I mean, a good big band is cool sometimes, but I don't know. It's just nothing that I listen to as much as I did kind of around that time. What about styles you weren't into? Yeah, that's kind of more of a, I guess, a style or whatever, instrumentation. So, a blues, please, Cesar. Okay, I would love to do a blues. I'll try to get back to some playing. All right, I'm just going to sort of jump back in case. Am I missing some stuff, Adam? Am I jumping over people? That's bad. It's like the people that stand in line and then you help the people. I hate that when that happens. You help the people at the back of the line, right? We got that. Oh, it's not letting me go back anymore. So that's going to answer that question. There you go. Hey, Ray. What's going on, Ray? Hey, Peter. No question, but a huge thank you. I'm rediscovering playing piano later in life, and your courses have been helpful and inspiring. I've grown more in 3 months of Open Studio than I ever expected. Ray, thank you for your words, man. I love hearing that. This is exactly why we're doing what we're doing here at Open Studio. We want to reach anybody that's interested at any stage in their life. It's interesting, like one of the most common comments I get after doing gigs is when I meet people, it's like, wow, that really sounded great. I used to play piano, and I regret so much quitting when I was 3, when I was 8, when I was 25, whatever age. But I've never heard anybody say, I used to play when I was a kid, and I'm so glad I quit. I wish I'd quit earlier. Now, I'm not saying there's not people like that out there, but I never heard that. I get constantly, and the piano is such a great instrument because it's international, and it's like a popular instrument. And I mean, there's not a piano in every house maybe like it used to be, but the piano is like, it's a great instrument, and people want to learn it. They know it. It's popular. But, it's hard, and there's a lot of great stuff in the world, and people fall off. But, I mean, I'm always like, it's never too late. It really is never too late, because I hear from people at different ages that come back to it or starting for the first time. I mean, this is an amazing instrument for, working with your hands and stuff. Maybe it's a lot of great anti-computer stuff in terms of playing. I mean, I'm not a doctor. Wait, am I a medical doctor, Adam? No, I'm not a medical doctor. See, he's verified for it. Verified that for me. So, I think it's great, and I mean, it means the world to me to hear from you that our courses have been a little bit a part of that. What we're really doing is, like, we're not replacing teachers. There's so many great teachers out there. I've been such a beneficiary of great teaching, but I know a lot of folks either don't have time or access where they live, or they want to practice. I hear from so many people, it's like, Sunday night, I just want to practice a little bit. And I got to work in the morning or whatever. I want to just get some ideas and some things to help me with my development. I can sort of self-direct it, but I need some inspiration and some ideas and some knowledge. And so we're very careful about all of our courses. I mean, look, we have amazing artists. I mean, if you want to come and watch Christian McBride break down how he thinks about a bass line, it doesn't get any better than that. But it's also like we really want to, give you guys tools to help out.
Hey, we got somebody who sent a question personally.
Oh, come on.
It's on there too, but he
on.
wants to make sure he doesn't get skipped.
Oh, that's how you push your way to the line. I like it. What's up, Ronald? I've got a question. In the video on switching fingers, you did a lot of little reharms. It's like so pretty and beautiful. When there's a break from, let's say, measure 3 and forward to measure 5, your reharms are mostly 3, 6, 2, 5, or walking down chromatically. I mean, I think both. I've never thought about like how much is probably more one or the other. and I'm trying to get into some other, and I do, you know, some other things too. But a lot of situations, those you know, a 3-6-2-5, I think from the walk down, what you're referring to is not that different because you've just got some substitutions. We could go, you know, 2 to the 1, or we could go. And so that's kind of a reharm, but I look at it as more, I mean, it is a reharm, but I look at it as more of like adding in some different places to go on the way on your journey. So it's like you're going on the path on your hike, and you're going over to the side, but you're not like ending up at a different place. You're ending up the same place, but you're doing little mini things on and off of the path. So it's like 3, 6, 2. That would be the standard one. And the walk down, I guess, would be, you know, 3, minor 3, which is sub from the 6, 2, minor second to 1. But you can think about it. 3. So the function of what you're doing is the same, but you're still using 2-5-1s, but you're not using the typical ones. So we've got, see if I can remember what I did, 3 to 6, and then I actually went up half step, I think. C minor to F7, to E flat 7, to A flat 7, to G. So there's a hint of that walk down, especially with that A flat at the end. And then, you know, kind of connecting things with a melody. That's always a nice thing where you get more melodically focused. That's kind of what I did there. So I'm looking at my harmonic choices based upon, you know, kind of what I'm doing with the melody there. So, cool. Say that was correct, Peter. Thank you. Yes, you're welcome. Absolutely. Okay, Cesar asks, can you give some tips about how to play it on a double bass solo? Yes. So my concept on this, typically is to play, with the same kind of energy and vibe that I would comp on any other solo, but with the adjustments made that are kind of necessary about what's different about the bass. So the biggest tip I would say is learn about the instrument. Even if you have a friend that just give you a 1 hour bass lesson or a 30-minute bass lesson, and you learn just to walk at 30 minutes, how much you can learn. You can learn a little bit, just kind of what it takes to play, what the register, what the notes are. Every pianist should know what the open notes are on the piano, so that when you're comping, if you can hear those, that's fine, but know what the register is and where it lays, because that's what this is really about. We don't want to be comping all up in here and this is where the bass is playing. Sometimes if they're way up high on the G string or the D string or whatever, you can get under them or whatever, but we got to know what they're doing first. And then, so once you start to understand where they are on the register, you can think about that. But what I hear too much of what not to do, I think, is when the energy level just falls off, because everyone's you got to play quiet so the bass can be heard. So the energy level, just because it gets quieter, yeah, you're not going to be comping as hard as you are at the intensity of the saxophone solo as it goes right into the bass solo. But the intensity, the volume comes down and the intensity comes down. It's they're together, but they shouldn't be. The intensity can still be there. That's about really maintaining the rhythmic intensity as the volume comes down. So you've got all these different kinds of intensity, melodic intensity, harmonic intensity, but here we're talking about kind of volume level and rhythmic intensity. Those have to be decoupled, and you can practice that if it's a matter of you want that to sound just as swinging and in the beat as if you're playing louder and faster, that kind of a thing. So if you kind of isolate based on that, and then how do you keep the rhythmic intensity, but bring the volume down, doing some good practice on that. The other thing is, I'm thinking with bass is like you can walk a little bit of a bass line under a bass solo. Like if the bass is, you can sneak a little two feel into. Okay, he's not going to be going up that high. Sorry, I got excited. But, you know, depending on what the register is, you know, because they don't have, that's the main thing that changes on a typical bass solo. There's no bass line. So I'm not saying to take over and start walking all loud, trying to be a bass, but you can sneak a little bit of that in there, I think is good. All right, we're moving along. How's everybody feeling? We feeling good?
Got lots of questions coming in.
Okay, lots of questions coming in. All right. I'm going to get on my job here. This is AMA, Peter Martin AMA, ask me anything. But it didn't say, oh, maybe that means answer. AMA, ask me anything, answer me anything. I guess I need to do my part here. Okay, Michael, hi Peter, looking forward to seeing you live in Frankfurt. Yes, looking forward to being there. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Joe asks, can you run syncopated? Can I run syncopated? That's good. No. In fact, this is a part of the problem. I think you're talking about running. So I'm an amateur, very amateur runner. A lot of times I don't listen to music when I'm running because, like, if you start thinking about like dance, I mean, running, especially like longer distance, I'm kind of doing like the half marathon level now. So like when you run like that, like steady time, steady cadence, all that kind of thing. And music's not always like that. So, you know, there's certain music I found I can run to really well, but syncopation, definitely not. Because syncopation is like, I love how I'm answering like this is a serious question, but it kind of is. I don't know. So the answer is no, I cannot. I mean, I could, but that leads to injury. All right. Another question from Elias. Hey, Peter, what are your 3 favorite standard tunes and 3 least favorite standard tunes? 3 favorite. Well, I mean, is Lush Life a standard? It's got to be a standard, right? That's just one of my favorite songs ever. I love the lyrics and the melody. And, yeah, I mean, of course it's a standard. That's Billy Strayhorn's Lush Life. The thing I played earlier is actually not, it's just because it's kind of on my mind. I love that. The very, what is that called? Shoot. I'm blanking on the name for some. Anyway, I love that tune. Another one, this is going to be hard to, I mean, I love Embraceable You. You know, those of you that follow me all know that I love playing that. I love Gershwin, you know. And then Thelonious Monk, I love, you know, Round Midnight. I love Reflections. I mean, those are more like jazz standards, but then you could talk about Wayne Shorter tunes. And anyway, there's 3. Oh, 3 I don't like. Okay, this is going to get me a little, can I go a little bit controversial? Can I go a little controversial? Is that okay with the Open Studio brass? Okay. Satin Doll. Not a big fan. Why am I playing it if I'm not a big fan? That's what it is. I'm just not a big fan of playing it. I mean, the Duke Ellington recording and many others I'm sure are great. Just not really one of my favorite. I don't want to go negative, especially on a master like Duke Ellington, but not one of my favorite standards. What's another standard? You know, that's never been one of my favorite tunes. But maybe just because it's been played so much. Softly's in the Morning Sunrise. I've never been a big fan of that. But these are kind of overplayed tunes, so it's more, I'm putting a lot of that on it. But there's 3 great ones and 3 hate ones, you know. Bach Inventions. Yes, Bach Inventions. Mariko, what's going on? So many great tips. Can I watch this again later? I think so. Yeah, we're going to leave it up, right?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to leave it up. John, you can also come join us at Open Studio. We have even more tips, but you can watch this later too. John asks, how do you analyze your playing post-performance and decide what to work on? Do you watch video or listen to recordings? Is this the best thing to work on, say, the day after a show as part of your daily routine? I think so. I don't do a lot of it in a real disciplined way anymore. But when I do listen, like as far as gigs, what I do listen to a lot is like as we're doing a recording session, if it's my own thing or with somebody else, I do so much listening to my own playing, like right afterwards and then in the days after and then months later if it's like mixing and stuff. So that's kind of the main way I get there. Something to think about whenever you do it, I think, is that you want to be listening for like, if you can listen soon enough after the gig, like that night maybe or the next morning, that you kind of remember the gig, you want to be listening to how different the recording is from your recollection of it. So in other words, like if you do the gig, you're like, man, that was so great. I was killing it tonight. And then you listen to the recording or watch the video right afterwards. And not only does it not sound that great, but like the things that you thought were great sound different. Oh, that wasn't really hitting like I thought. Or maybe some things you thought didn't work sound great. Like any kind of differences, that's sort of, it's going to happen. But that's sort of your things that you're going to want to kind of work on. Because what we're trying to go with is, and I think practice and playing and like trying to improve on the gig, on the bandstand and off the bandstand is all about being in the moment, hearing what you play, but hearing it accurately. So like the more you develop, I think, as a musician and a really good performer, jazz performer, the closer you get to when you hear the recording, it sounds just like you remembered it. That's when you really know you're making progress, the closer you get to that. So that's the kind of thing I would listen to. So then you're going to kind of want to do it close enough that you do remember it. But I think it's good. Video, audio, it doesn't really make a difference. I mean, the video can kind of get in the way a little bit. But then again, like how we look when we play is important. I mean, that's a part of it. So you want to see yourself playing video sometimes so that those times when you think you look really cool playing, you get to see what the reality is, now most of the stuff that I see right after gigs or later is like on social media, like if somebody does something on Instagram or YouTube of a gig we're doing. And that's always interesting because it's like people, like I'm not one of those musicians that's like, no recordings or I get upset about that. I don't really care. I mean, I think it's kind of flattering that people would want to record and then post it to their friends. But the only problem is like the quality of it is usually not that great. So what we end up having, I think it's great that our music can get out there and if we have a great performance and someone puts something up, someone else in the world can just look at it for free right then. That's cool. But sometimes, it's no fault of the people taking it. They're enjoying it and want to share it, but they don't know how to hold their phone correctly. They're covering the mic, whatever. We're not necessarily getting the greatest quality all the time. So that's always a little bit of a thing, but it's all good. It's all good. Not going to go dark on a Friday afternoon, Question from Gregory Boyd. What's up, Gregory? Blast from the past there, my friend. Hello, Peter. What did your music experiences in New Orleans teach you? Man, I mean, everything. Everything. Really. I learned a lot, mostly from my parents and some great teachers as a child before I came to New Orleans when I was 20. And when I was in New York for a couple years. But, New Orleans is like, that was my university. That was my music school. Victor Goins, Jermaine Basil, Ellis Marsalis, Brian Blade, Chris Thomas, Jeremy Davenport, Nicholas Payton, all the great, and many more, Martin Butler, just so many different great musicians, Jeff Clapp, that I interacted with, met, learned from, played with. That was just a pivotal time for me. And then just the whole lineage of the music scene that Wendell Brunius, and I'm going to leave a lot of people out because there's so many, like such a rich culture of just music, So I'm so fortunate to be around that. It's like you're a chef and you've kind of got your tools together, but you don't know what to do them. And you end up in New Orleans or Paris or Tokyo or some food mecca. And you get embraced by these great chefs, and you just watch and learn and cook with them and everything. So New Orleans, the spirit of the music, everything, it permeates everything I've done ever musically. Whether I'm playing New Orleans style or not, it's really, there's a day doesn't go by that I'm not thinking and feeling that. Sometimes an hour doesn't even go by. It's just really a part of me, and I'm eternally grateful. Thank you for the question. Brent, what's going on, my friend? Can you give some tips on comping for oneself while soloing on a ballad? Maybe on Autumn in New York. Comping for yourself. Okay, well, the first thing I just want to say is when we're comping for ourselves, I would encourage you on ballads because they're slower. We can practice. Well, I mean, you can practice anything slowly, but we can practice it slowly and actually play them slowly. You're exposed, but you've got time to be a little bit more calculating. So don't always just think about accompanying yourself comping in the left hand and soloing in the right hand, because you're missing out on so many great things that you can do. It may be a matter of what did you say? Autopilot. You know what? I'm not like a great expert on that tunes, but I'm just thinking of something where we got some space, like the very thought of you. So what I was just sort of doing there, to kind of at that tempo, even as I was sort of jumping into some soloing here, I'm playing quite a bit in my left hand. Now, of course, I'm not going to always do that, but that is an option. And I'm really thinking melodically. So I'm like, I can't remember exactly what I played, but you've got these options at the top of that left hand. So, of course, you've got that space in between your lines, but even as you're playing your lines. So there's that kind of movement. And then it's also like I think with the ballads, you have more chance to integrate the hands in a way that you can do at any tempo, but it's more natural to do here. So that would be the first thing, is just not thinking about the hands as so separate, like accompanist and soloist. And some of the stuff we talked about earlier with the independence in the hands can help you get into that, because you got to have the idea for it, but then you got to have the kind of actual ability to control them separately, even if you're telling them to become part of the same thing. So a lot of times I'll think, like I might continue a line on because that's the register it's in, and it gives me the opportunity to play something. So it's like, yeah, I'm accompanying, but I'm also starting something new. And then, in general, when we're in this tenor, almost kind of alto range here with our comping, when we are doing more standard comping, play softer than you think you need to, because you want to be able to. It gives you the ability to play more, but without it getting in the way. So you got to really work on your soft skills, And then you're going to play strong in the right hand, but you want to have that range of volume in the. And you want that to really come out, unless you're doing, unless the left hand's jumping ahead of it. So really think about learning to play. And again, some classical etudes and stuff can help. That same Opus 10 number 3 Chopin would be great for that kind of thing. You want to control that hand, independence, but also control of it. Okay? Uh-oh, the bell is tolling.
It's been an hour.
It's been an hour. Do you guys want me to keep going? Do you want to keep asking me? Oh, wow, we got a lot of questions.
And there's a lot more.
All right, so I'm going to keep forging ahead a little bit. I'm going to jump to the back of the line. Is that bad? That's how we're doing it. And Boya, what's going on? Up in Canada, I think. I'm pretty sure you're up in Canada. What's going on? It has been a while. Good to see you here. Long time. Can you talk about soloing in ballads? And Boya is a wonderful pianist. Can you talk about soloing in ballads and the urge to solo double time rather than maintaining the feel by keeping it slow? Yeah, big pet peeve of mine. Actually what I was just doing, that's kind of a thing that I like to do. Like, we have the urge to play more sometimes, which is fine, as long as it's musically going. But just remember, the only way to play more is not just double time. And sometimes pianists, or just any jazz player, thinks on a ballad like, okay, I want to play more, so I'm going to play in the ballad tempo, and then at a certain point, I'm going to go to double time. But you can play more, you can do flurries, you can go out of time, especially like solo piano. Like, I love to play where, 3. Like, that's kind of standard, but I'm already hinting it. But I'm clearly in that ballad tempo. But once we get that left hand going, we can kind of take it out of time, which enables us to play at any tempo. But it's not double time. Now, if you want to do that, You can always do that. I don't actually do the double time thing a lot. Sometimes I play with like bass players and drummers haven't played with a lot, and they kind of go push into double time, and I'm like, really? I don't know. It's cool, but it's like it just restricts you more. So unless you really want to go there musically, I don't know, not a huge fan. So, thank you, thank you. Okay, let's see. So let me jump around so I don't miss too many people. But now I'm reading backwards. Dan, what's going on? Hey, Peter, excited to have you out to our jazz festival in 2 weeks. I'd love to hear some tips for students, pianists especially, on how they can take changes out during a solo and superimpose a different set of changes. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I'm going out to Portland to the Mount Hood Jazz Festival. Super excited. I've been in the area, but never been at the Mount Hood Festival, and I'm excited to do some workshops and some gigs there because I've always heard great things about that festival. Okay, tips on how the students can take changes out during a solo and superimpose. Okay, so at the beginning, you might have saw I did a little bit on this, but the idea is like anytime we go to another harmonic area, whether that's a progression or just one chord, anything that's outside of the changes, taking it out, woo, danger. So like anytime we do that, there's an opportunity to play melodically still and in this new zone. I almost think about it as like you're here, then you're like, woo, you're here, this is still going, this is a band, and then you're back. You're shifting or whatever. So I like to get super melodic, maybe pattern-based kind of stuff. Okay, that was just straight up out. Hold on. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I'll do. So it's almost like the alternate changes or the places that you're going out start to drive your melodic choices as opposed to the other way around, which is cool too. So I'm like C major for a second. And I go to E major, D major, D flat major, back to C. So that's kind of the harmonic pattern. But then I'm like taking a melody and turning it into a pattern by taking it through each of those keys. So that's where, part of the reason we learn tunes, we learn chords, we learn changes, we learn two-handed voicings, all these different things in all the keys as much as we can is so that not only if we have to play that tune in another key, but it gives us other areas and ways of playing that even over the same thing. Stella by Star. Ah. So when I played in this key, any key, I'm going to play differently, not because I don't know it as well. Okay, maybe I don't know it as well in this key as the original key, but I do know it. I mean, I can play it, but it's going to give me other different areas to go to based on the register I'm in, the piano, whatever, to so-called take it out. Because I'm having to rely on my ears more in terms of like hearing where I'm at in the tune. You know what I mean? Like I don't have time to transpose. And that's why I always encourage, pianists especially, to learn tunes in different keys. Because, it just develops your ears in a way, and for things like this, taking it out and alternate changes and stuff, it really sets you up to have some freedom and confidence, I think, in doing that. Okay? So let's do a couple more questions. Jerome, what's going on from Switzerland? Good to see you, my friend. One of our expert, we had talking earlier on the podcast about one of our expert drum transcribers here down in Atlanta, Charles, right? Charles in Atlanta. Jerome is one of our expert piano transcribers. Thanks, Peter, for all. I have been playing recently with tunes, thanks to you, like People Make the World Go Round. I'm confessing a very thought of you, Ruby, my dear monk's dream. Going forward, I want to know if this would be possible to make a chorus class on Garage's Parish on your album. I really love the song. As a question, I would like to know, how do you practice your rhythm away from the instrument, or just an example of practice? Oh yeah, Garage's Parish. I think I did a lesson. Maybe I did. I used to call it Cuban New Orleans. But if I didn't, I'll definitely do a lesson on that. I like that. Okay, so the question, I would like to know, how do you practice your rhythm away from the instrument? Or just an example of how to practice rhythm. Yeah, I mean, I think away, like there's some things I used to do. I should probably get back to, you know, where you like just 2 against 3, 3 against 5 and stuff. That are kind of like maybe hand independent sort of things. Then there's like listening to recordings and like, you know, trying to tap or snap certain syncopations along with that. I'm trying to think what else. You know, you can do the same thing with your feet where you get like quarter notes going. You know, that kind of thing. But I think most of the stuff you kind of got to, you don't have to be at the piano. I don't know. What else do we do, Adam? That's about it? Okay. He's trying to get me to move on there. Yeah, but those are good. You know, just think about different rhythms, patterns that you can come up that are different. That'll help with your hand independence too, because even though you're not at the piano, we're always like, you know, the hands and the fingers, like this is all, it's physical, but it's much, much more mental. It's like training your brain how to do different things at different times at the same time as much as possible. I've got some things I need to talk about. All right, can I do another question? A couple more questions? I'm starting to get excited. I'm feeling the AMA.
Yeah, we should do this again. Ask
Yeah. Do you guys want me to do this again? I would be glad to do it again. Maybe we'll take a 2-hour break and then do it again. No.
It's just going to stay up for a while is what people
Oh, it's going to stay up for a while. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Peter, how do you train independence? So I think we talked about that earlier and just now. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, my one and only love, of course. What was I thinking of? I wasn't thinking about that. Yes, it's going to be posted. All right, cool. Well, I think I hit some good ones, right?
A lot of great
Yeah.
ones.
Alex, hi, Peter. Maybe this will be the last one. Alex says, I'll do 2 more. Hi, Peter. Can you recommend me a book of jazz theory for piano to start learning? They have a little thing called Jazz Piano for Beginners by a guy I know named Peter Martin. I would recommend that. And not because it's the best or whatever, it's just the only one that I know. Oh, sorry, guys. Oh, that's ended anyway. Okay, cool. But I think that, here we go. Jazz Piano for Beginners. I would recommend this. Now, this is really it's big and stuff. You don't really need you kind of need the course. We have a video course here called Jazz Piano for Beginners on openstudio.network.com. My idea with the course is like you can play piano, you can maybe play a little bit of jazz, but mainly you like jazz, you're passionate, you want to play jazz piano. You know the instrument. I'm not really teaching like this is where C is, this is where D, put your hand here. But you can play some basic stuff and you want to play and you want to learn jazz. And my concept on it is that we listen and imitate, we jump in and play. I mean, I got stuff written out, we got transcriptions and all that kind of stuff, but it's really about jumping in and playing, learning the rhythm, learning swing, learning a blues. So I have you, I think by the 3rd lesson, you're already like playing a basic blues, you know, by ear. And I try to sort of demystify the whole jazz piano process. That's what it's really about. And I'm really excited about it because I didn't know, I kind of thought that I had a good method and I had taught some people that, and it worked. But when we started this has become like one of our most popular courses. And I've had a bunch of people write in and I've met on the road that are like, wow, I really learned how to play. Now, I'm not, wait, let me look at the last page. I guarantee you will play like Herbie Hancock by the time you get to this page. No, it does not say that. But if you go through this course, and this is our beautiful accompanying workbook, you'll be able to play a little bit of jazz. My idea is to get you to the point where you can play so that like your spouse and your friends and family like might even tap their toe a little bit or put a little smile on their face as you're playing. And then, you know, we've got a lot of things for later. But I know that there's a lot of other good methods and stuff out there, so I just don't know them that well. And, you know, I learned most of this stuff by ear. I didn't have this. I mean, I did. I had some good teachers and I had some great players around St. Louis that helped me, but a lot of it I learned by ear. And so that was what I really based the Jazz Piano for Beginners method on, was like still learning by ear, not just reading it off the page. And like, we get into really hip voicings from the beginning. Simple, but hip. We don't have any of this like corny root position stuff. I mean, it's why? You know what I'm saying? What are we in the 1900s, man? What's going on? What are we trying to do here? Okay. We got one more here, and I saw the one I really feel like I should. Montes, hey Peter, so I just began to improvise, and you make it look so easy. But what are the basics of improvising? What you should focus on? That's a big question. But I think the basics are like understanding the framework of what improvisation is, and like how do we get to the place where it seems easy. And I thank you. I take that as a huge compliment, because I think great improvising, great jazz playing is about making something that's very complex, from a theoretical standpoint, and making it just sound fun and easy. You know what I mean? Like if someone comes up to me at the end of a solo or a gig and is like, man, that was so amazing. That solo was so complicated, and you played the C minor 7 with the major 6 and the flatted thing, and then you did that polyrhythm thing. That was, to me, that's a disaster, and I failed, because we're not making music for other musicians or for jazz theorists. We're making it for the people. We're making it for the people out here. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, like, if you understand that framework of we're trying to make something complex sound simple, that as you're a beginner, you can still make it sound good. So it's not about like, I have to be at this level and then I can make it sound simple, or then I can sound good. It's about you starting where you are, because we all have something to say. I look back to when I didn't know what I was doing. The only thing that I did right was I tried something. So I had something to say. I didn't really know how to do it. I could play a little bit, and I wanted to imitate something, so I tried to take stuff off record, so that led to me developing my ear. And then, you're building on that. So, but if you know that we all do have something to say, and you can get to that promised land of making it sound easy, it's just, putting in that work, but doing it in an organized way. Along the way, we can have a lot of fun. You know what I mean? It's not just like, I got to practice for 20 years and then I sound good. No, it's a continuum. You don't wake up one day sounding good. You're trying to get better each day. And you wake up one day and you're like, wow, okay, I feel more confident now. But it's we're always trying to progress, that kind of thing. So, all right, on that note, we have some, I'm looking at somebody. Those of you that are not familiar with our podcast, which I'm sure is nobody. We're worldwide now. We're everywhere. No, but we do a daily podcast here, Monday through Friday. Why do we do that? We're not exactly sure, but people keep asking for it, so we're going to keep doing it. We're having a lot of fun with it, Adam Manis and myself, and we call it You'll Hear It. And it's free. Of course it's free. It's a podcast, and it's on YouTube. You can check us out there on the Open Studio page, wherever you get your podcast. So we encourage you to engage with us here. If you guys enjoyed the AMA, I had a lot of fun. Did you guys have some fun today? Maybe learn a little something. I had fun. And so this has been great. If you guys want me to do another one, I'd be glad to do it. Just let me know in the comments. We'll leave things up. Open Studio, a lot of you know about it. Check us out there, openstudionetwork.com. We got courses on... Okay, I always talk, we have so many great courses. It's funny that I always focus on Christian McBride. He always pops in my head because I think about bass, and we had so much fun making his course. I produced it and got a chance to play with him some. And but we have Diane Reeves, Define Your Voice, teaching you how to be a jazz singer, transcriptions, and we got a lot of fun stuff. We got something called the All Access Pass. If you want to sample what we have just for a month or a week or whatever, and then buy some courses, whatever you want. And you'llhearit.com is our blog. Tons of free content there. You can check it out there. And on that note, maybe I'll play a little bit. Wish you guys a great weekend. Thank you for being here, and happy practicing as always. Maybe I'll do the Garacious Parish because somebody was asking about that.